Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Pathways to Perform. We hope these real stories from real people resonate to help guide you on your path to perform at your very best in any field. Joining me today is a very special woman. She runs one of the most successful casting agencies in the country. I've had the great pleasure of working with her during our time together on the Jimmy Awards. Please welcome, direct from Klapper Casting, the one and only Stephanie Klapper.
Hi, nice to see you.
Oh, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy schedule, I'm sure. Thank you. Thank you. So, we're going to have some fun today. I think there's lots for us to talk about. I feel as if we can really cover the bases of what it is to be an actor walking into an audition, what people are looking for. And then in addition to that, if I'm someone that wants to go into casting, you offer so many different avenues for us, so many different pathways. So I'm excited to get this conversation started.
You too.
Great. So I think my first question for you would be, how did you know that you wanted to go into the performing arts?
I don't know if I ever actually knew it. I grew up with parents who by day were professionals and the rest of the time were very creative. My father would play the clarinet and always wanted to be a professional musician, but chose a different path. But from the earliest age, I remember him playing the clarinet and getting ready for his lessons and performances because he performed even though he wasn't considered professional in the traditional route. And he was also interested. He always wanted to be an actor and do some acting. When he and my mom were dating, they were both supernumeraries with the New York City Opera, and they told stories about that. And I think when I was about 4 years old, my mother took me to see an off Broadway play that my father was in. And I think these things really shaped my life, but they just seemed like a part of the natural fiber of who I was in my world.
Oh, so it's part of your DNA, part of your makeup. It just
Very
made
much
sense.
so.
That of course, that seems to be part of the theme when it comes to either even sports or arts. Most of it is kind of rooted in who you are when you're born. I just think
I
that's so
think so.
interesting.
Well, actually, it's interesting you say that because my parents, like, they talked a lot about the piece of music when I came home, when I was born, when I came home from the hospital. It was a piece of music called Love Lost by a composer named Schmetna. And it has a beautiful flute solo at the beginning. And in my younger years, I was a flutist, and we are sure that that had something to do with it.
Oh, that's so fascinating. Do you still play?
I took a little break, but up until fairly recently, I was playing, but I needed to sort of recharge.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so, how do you have this art in your family and this kind of support and this conversation going on? How do you go from even music and watching your father and being active in that realm of the arts to actually launching a casting agency? Because that's on the other side of the table. Instead of being the performer, you're sitting on the other side of the table. How did that come about?
Um, I call it my accidental career that I thought would just be something I would do on my way to being a professional director. And I think that I loved playing the flute and I loved performing, but I found being in practice rooms for long period of times by myself was antithetical to the very social person I am. And I went to film school. I started in film school in college and learned there that I loved working with actors and I loved the theoretical part of filmmaking, but I didn't love the making of filmmaking. But I loved working with actors, and that led to directing, which led to me trying a different program at SUNY Purchase where I went to college. And along the way, I had great internships and there many different experiences as a director, assisting other people who were directors, doing internships at places like the Public Theater, and then random jobs along the way. I worked for Broadway producers by day and directed by night. I worked with a set designer. I did some production management. I did some stage management. And a director who lived in my parents' building actually saw me one night. We were talking and asked me if I was looking for a job. And he offered me the opportunity to interview for a job at a small off-Broadway theater company that was looking for a casting person. And to me, that was a great way to meet actors as a director. And I thought, oh my gosh, I collect people for my shows. This is amazing. I'll go in and interview for the job. And the artistic director I met with made me wait a very long time before he saw me. And then when we talked, he yelled at me and told me I knew nothing and who did I think I was. And I told him who I thought I was, and I told him why he should hire me. and he threw the script at me and went on vacation. And through that very first casting experience, I learned that I really loved mining and digging and finding talent. And over the few years I did that in conjunction with directing, I realized that casting was the fit that made sense for me, because I love research and I love putting people together and I love making things happen. And I felt that it suited my talent and skill in a good way. So that's how casting came about.
I just think it's fascinating that it was so organic for you. And I think probably what's really interesting as well is that you've covered every facet from stage management to directing and all of these things. And so
Mm.
you're able to understand the importance of kind of the ebb and flow, the connection, the integration of all of those elements to align the key players where they need to go for some of these shows. That's really interesting.
And also, I remember my teachers telling us at that point in time that no matter what one chose to do, it's always good to learn about all facets of your profession. And I think that was really great guidance, because it allowed me the flexibility to find my way, but also to understand the jobs of the people I work with and be more empathetic to what they have to accomplish.
And so, you start dabbling in casting and you're working for someone else. What what
Actually, I never worked for somebody else. Sorry. This
Oh,
theater,
oh, okay. I thought the theater. Okay, good.
they hired me. The theater hired me as their casting person. So in that way, I worked for somebody else.
Interesting.
But a lot of the tradition now, or the way it goes now, is that's somebody usually starts as an assistant or an intern, and then maybe they become um, an associate over time. But I really sort of created my own way of doing things. And through loving the casting, I reached out to somebody I had met who was a casting director and asked him if he could teach me sort of properly how to do the job, because I had taught myself. And he took me in to work with him. But that was sort of a backwards way.
But that's great that you had a mentor helping you. And, as you started this kind of journey for yourself, what were the greatest challenges that you faced as ventured down this different kind of path?
Well, because I'm in business for myself, it was getting clients and having people trust me with their work. And then it's a very competitive field. So it was, how do I continue to have clients and have people trust me and know that I work very hard for them, and I get them the best clients I can. I mean, the best actors for the project, sorry.
Mhm.
Um, what I also find interesting is sometimes the challenge is having an extraordinary project, but not having the budget for the level of talent they want to get. So the challenge there is how to bring in extraordinary talent, but maybe reframe it in a way that makes sense for the project. And I think it's also having longevity of career. I think that this is a career that could really burn us out if we don't know strategically how to take care of ourselves. And I think that we all work very hard and we don't always get the recognition for the work we do. And it's surrounding ourselves with people who can give us perspective.
Along the ways, I feel like we hear a lot of success stories, but we don't hear a lot about disappointments or failures. Was there ever anything that really just kind of disappointed you? What one moment that really kind of hit you hard?
That's interesting. I was thinking of it. It's funny because I think that actors and casting directors actually have a lot in common, which is we put our hearts and souls into our jobs. And maybe it's also, I have to interview for jobs, so it's like an audition too, and I don't get every job I want, because it just, sometimes it's the luck of the draw. And there have been some times where there's just been something where I felt I'm the perfect person for it, but for whatever circumstance, that particular opportunity hasn't come through, or people have gone a different way. So I think we really have parallels in our careers in that way. So I can't list like one time that's happened, but I think it's just the nature of our business is we're going to have, for every success, we're going to have a disappointment. And it's how to rebound from those disappointments. And sometimes it's easier than others. Sometimes it's, to that expression about one window closes and another window opens. Sometimes it happens immediately and sometimes it takes longer. And I think when it takes longer, it's when it feels like there's a hole in one's heart, because that void hasn't been quite filled the way we'd like it to be.
Well, thank you for sharing that perspective. I think it's important to talk a lot about success and failure in addition to that, because what is failure? It's like the age old conversation and debate. If you succeed from that failure, is it really a failure, and all those things? But what I talk a lot about is the book of no. We see the fancy bio, right? All the credits, the list of the credits on the resume, all the wonderful, positive yeses. But what we don't talk about is the book of no. And for every one Broadway show that you've got, or one film, or one, national commercial, there's a list of auditions that you went to that you were rejected from. It's the book of no. You have a page, a resume, a one sheeter of yeses, and then the other side of it is just this gigantic list of no's. And it's really important about how you rebound. How do you bounce back from that? And how, do you have any advice about that for actors that might have come in for different roles and they're facing these challenges, and you see them over and over and over again, and they're just not right for a specific show? But how do you encourage them to keep going?
That is such a great question. And I always think of The Princess Bride and the Pit of Despair, and how you have to sort of dig yourself out of the
Oh,
pit of
great.
despair.
The pit of despair. I love that. Dig out. Yeah, that's right.
And I think we all go there. It's
Mhm.
so, I call our business, it's like living in Vegas all the time. It's like you hope the roulette wheel spins and you hit it and you get your number and your color and you're in. But that's all chance. And we know that so much of it is hard work. But I really feel the stars aligning, you only have so much control over. And I think it's really important to keep that in mind. And as you said, it's interesting, the I think the failures, and they're not really failures, I think that they need to be looked at as really great lessons, because everything, usually there's a reason something doesn't work out. Sometimes it's for good reasons, sometimes it's not. But I feel like in the in sort of accounting through it over time, you sort of look back and go, oh, that would have been great, but because that didn't happen, this happened. And I never could have gotten to this point without that. So I think it's like a teachable moment. It's a moment where you have to really evaluate things, but also not linger on it, because if you get stuck there, then you can't move forward. And I think it's important to both learn the lesson, but also move forward and take that lesson forward with you.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I tell my students all the time, if you gain something from that, if you learn something from that, that failure should be a lesson to you, and just allow yourself to keep moving forward. And yeah, of course.
I also think it's so easy in our profession, and I'm sure with your students, everybody's very good at talking about all the things they're doing and all the things they're accomplishing. And I think it's very easy to try to impress everybody with the dazzling array of things one does. But I think that it's also really important to be honest, and you'll have deeper connections if you talk about the things that you're trying to figure out, the things that are confusing, the things that aren't satisfying, because that's really important. And by putting that out there to your peers, you may also find more opportunities and find that you're really all going through the same thing and not having to put on a facade.
Well, and it's honest. And when you're honest, so much great can come from that. It's just
If I've learned
goodness.
nothing else during this time period, it's a new level of vulnerability.
Yes,
And I think it's really important.
absolutely. I agree, of course. So, in all of these, we've been talking about failure now, and kind of lessons learned from that. What would be your greatest success story?
Well, I'm going to start with my personal success stories, that I'm really proud to have two kids who I think are wonderful human beings who contribute to the world. And I think in our profession, it's not always easy to have a family. And I know when I started out, I sort of kept my pregnancies a secret, my kids a secret, because it on occasion was something that wasn't acknowledged as part of my life. And what do you mean you can't spend time doing X, Y, and Z because you're nursing your child in the next room? And it was really a lesson in balance. But I just feel that my kids are people I'm just so proud of, and what they do, and the people they are. So I'm very proud of them, and sustaining a marriage in a business that doesn't always make that easy either. I'm very proud of those things. In terms of my professional accomplishments, I'm just so happy to continue doing what I love to do. And I feel like each and every project I work on is a different kind of child, but they're loved and they're nurtured, and some are more challenging than others, and some have their own issues. But at the end of the day, I feel that if I've gotten wonderful people together and a wonderful project that says something together, then I'm really proud of making those things happen.
That's so beautiful. And I love the work-life balance conversation. We don't really have that a lot in this industry. You're right. It is kind of the stigma that comes with it, that you hear that you can't have a family. And I do feel as if the industry has shifted tremendously, even from 5 or 10 years ago.
No
But
question.
that's right. And that actually warms my heart. I think it's important to just embrace everything that you are and not have to apologize or hide from something, whether it's a family or something else. But that's a beautiful story, because I'm sure that your family kept you going and encouraged you, again, that behind the
Oh,
scenes thing that we didn't see, that we don't see, they're probably your biggest cheerleader.
well, we share that duty. I of them and them of me for sure.
That's beautiful. And, so you have this amazing job and this beautiful family. What do you love the most about your job? You get to show up every day
Um,
and yeah, make
oh,
magic happen.
this is true. I'm very fortunate that I have a great team of assistants who work with me, who are just incredible human beings, and I really couldn't do the job I do without them. So I'm so grateful they're in my life, and especially now in this challenging time where we're not doing as much as ordinarily we would doing. I just even still remaining connected and us doing the projects we are doing together. I'm very thankful for. Um, I boy, I just love putting people together, and I love realizing talents that sometimes people don't even know are there. Or sometimes I think that empathy and introspection and keying into the larger picture of who the performer is, helps to inform me as to where I put them. And I love to surprise my clients with people's talents, that they may know this actor for years, but they didn't know they had that ability. So to me, that's one of the most fulfilling, wonderful, incredible things I could do.
It has to feel so good to line something like that up.
Mhm.
That's fantastic. And as you move through this and you are lining these projects up and all these different kinds of stories that you're telling through different, people and different humans and those shared experiences, is there any one project where you brought all of these shared experiences together that is your absolute favorite, that warms your heart more than anything?
Can I?
There's
It's a
I'm sure there's
few.
more than one. I was going to
It's a
say, okay.
few. There's. I was thinking about this because An Oak Tree was a play I did a number of years ago, and it was by an English actor, writer, director named Tim Crouch. And Tim went into TV acting and really missed the immediacy of stage. So he wrote a play for himself, and each night an actor would act opposite him, but that actor had to be a new actor at every performance, and they weren't able to know anything about the script or the production ahead of time.
Oh, wow.
And it had to be notable actors, but also great actors who weren't notable yet. And the producers, the press agent, and I got to work very closely together with Tim. But ultimately, they said, Stephanie, have at it, surprise us. And it was really fun to build the level of talent over time, because I knew once I got a few brave actors to take the chance, they would hear about it. And then it would become a thing that people wanted to do. So I was really proud of being able to take the lead on that and make something really great happen. And that remains one of my sort of most fun magic creating experiences. And then a bunch of years ago, I worked on A Christmas Story, the musical, and that was a long time of development, from a regional production to bringing it to Broadway. And I got to know a lot of kids over time. We saw thousands of kids all across the country, and it was just really fun to get to see a level of talent that I just hadn't been exposed to in quite the same way, and see the development of a piece. And also, although it was a seasonal show, it was a show that really touched people's lives throughout the year. So I loved working on that. And then finally, completely the opposite, working with the Philadelphia Orchestra on several Leonard Bernstein tributes. We did the Bernstein Mass, Candide, and West Side Story. Was great because it combined my love of music with one of the world's finest orchestras and one of the world's finest singers and performers. So I loved bringing all the worlds together, and that was deeply fulfilling.
Wow, what an amazing opportunity. And those are three very different projects,
Yeah.
different realms spanning every aspect of really performing arts. How exciting. So it's never boring. It's never boring.
Boring. Never
Never
predict. I
boring.
mean, that's the interesting thing is all these years of doing this, and yet every project feels new and terrifying and challenging and wonderful in its way. So it's never predictable.
Yeah, beautifully unpredictable. I love that. That makes me so happy too. How great. And so, as you move down this path and you continue down this journey for casting, do you have any advice for young kind of aspiring hopefuls that are eager to learn more about the casting side of the industry?
Oh, sure. I am a New York board member of the Casting Society of America, but I'm also on the Training and Education Committee and Equity and Entertainment Committees. And one of the great things we're doing is developing an education program for people interested in casting. And that can be looked at on the website, the Casting Society of America's website. And also, I'm a mentor with Syracuse University's Tepper semester, and they also have a casting program they do in the senior year of school. You don't have to go to Syracuse to do it. You can do it through different universities and apply to their program and get credit for it. So those are two different options, Tepper and also CSA.
And are these opportunities something that kind of existed a few years ago, or is this something that we're realizing now that people are interested in casting, and to provide those kind of educational opportunities and training grounds are really important for the future of this industry?
Yeah, I think that, well, Tepper is the program that started, that I have the knowledge of starting first. And then CSA's training and education started fairly recently, I think, as a response to what you're saying. And then just this year, CSA also launched a mentorship program. So I think that we are realizing that there is a real interest, and we've never really had a way to train people properly, sorry, as evidenced by sort of my experience, which was self-taught, and many of the casting people of my time are self-taught. And I think now we're really trying to pass on a legacy and some protocols along the way, and standards and practices.
What an exciting time to be a part of something that you can develop and make sure that the legacy and continues. And like you're saying, a real special kind of, I guess, pathway, certainly, but to be able to expose and train in the right way, especially through your experience, they'd be very, very, very lucky to have your expertise and to share that with them. So that's what a great opportunity.
Thank
Great
you.
opportunity. And so we're sitting here and we're talking a lot about casting. Uh, I'm interested in knowing, as a casting agent sitting there, and actor comes in after actor after actor after actor, actress and actress and actress and actress, thousands of people a day sometimes, hundreds usually. But what are some of the major mistakes that actors make? You always hear about, I got the gig. You get the phone call and I got it. But what are just some of the basic just mistakes that actors make, or some things that you've seen that you can provide some advice for our young performers, not so much casting agents?
Well, what I'd love to say to young performers is that sometimes I think actors apologize when they come in. I think it's just so natural to feel you're just so fortunate to get the appointment with the casting director that you just want to be there. But I think that you're there because we want you to be there, whether it's an open call, an EPA, a chorus call, an appointment. We truly want you there. We so want you to be the fit for what we're going for. So please know that you're invited to our party, and know that you are very, very wanted. So no apology necessary. In fact, leave it home. It's okay. So that would be first and foremost. The other thing is, I think sometimes, especially young actors, spend so much time trying to score the audition. They really want that audition. They put all of their energy into the audition. But then when it comes time to follow through, they haven't necessarily done they haven't done the preparation properly, because they really were so focused on the appointment, they didn't think about what happens when they get the appointment. So I think it's really important to be really well prepared, and not only with your material, but find out about the place you're auditioning for, and do you really want to go there? And also find out about the team ahead of time. Are these people you want to work with? And if so, why? So I really feel that for every audition you go in for, take the time to prepare not only your material, but the entire experience of what it's going to be.
Do your homework, do your homework, do your
Hmm.
homework. Yeah, that's very, very important. You hear that a lot, know who's in the room, but yeah, you got to do your homework to make sure that you're prepared. And that's exciting in and of itself. The opportunity is one thing, like you're saying, but actually being ready for it. You hear that a
Hmm.
lot. You got to be ready for it. Do the legwork ahead of time. And you've seen so much in your career and your life and your path and people coming in and out, your personal life. You've shared about your family. You've had so much success, both professionally and personally. So, how would you define success?
This is where I channel my dad once again, um, and both my parents. But I think at one time I measured success as to how I measured up in my accomplishments in relation to my colleagues. And I don't know if a switch went on or if I finally heard my parents. And I just had to sort of remember that if I felt good about the work that I've done and the clients I'm working with and just the quality overall, that's success for me. Success for me is continuing to do what I love to do and getting hired to do what I do. Um, and it doesn't have to be the biggest or the best or the most money. That really, those are nice things, but they're so temporary and of the moment. And I feel like I need to look at the long game now. And so to me, success is really, if I feel good about what I'm doing and the people I'm working with, that's success.
That word temporary is going to stay with me. That's really interesting. Money, that gig, it's all temporary. Longevity is definitely something that's going to stay with me. Thank you for that reminder. I appreciate that. And we all know that COVID is happening and we're in the middle of a pandemic. Do you have any current interests outside of the industry, especially with things being a little quieter right now? What have you been up to? What are you doing?
Wow. Well, once I mean, I feel like we all went through the initial, it felt like we really got beaten up by the start of the pandemic.
Hmm.
And I think for me, there was a lot of resistance and a lot of, oh my God, I don't know, like what's going to happen. And it's interesting. My interests are, I have wonderful friends in my life and wonderful family members. And I feel like this was a time when really connecting with my friends in a new way has been extraordinary and a real gift. And I've just revisited friendships very differently now. And I feel very fortunate in that way. And it's given me a time to sort of spend different time with my family than I have before and really love that. I also I have a very good friend. She was my mentor and my professor in college, and she's talked about this writing class she's taken over the years and how much she's loved it. And I asked her if she might want to take another one and maybe we could do it together. So she and I have been taking a writing class together, and it's just been so great. I just it's been I think a really special thing that we've shared together, and we share our writing with each other and our sort of experience with the class. So that's been really great. And then an actress I knew and we were friendly, but at the start of the pandemic, we started talking about things we were interested in. And I said, I'm interested in podcasts, I'm interested in radio. And she said, well, let's explore this. So she and I started a podcast together called Someone's Thunder. Kiesha, we'll talk about that because I think you would enjoy that.
Fun.
And that I just thought, oh, this will just be something we'll check out. But then Angela, who's my collaborator, got a producer involved in it and got somebody involved doing marketing. So this thing that started out as an idea is kind of fun and plays to the things that I'm really both excited about, but also like I'm always behind the scenes. So it's been a very interesting experience to sort of reimagine that part of me. So that's some of what I've been doing and doing a lot of introspection and assessment of my life overall.
You are such a beautiful soul. I'm so happy for you. And I love to hear that you continue to grow and learn and explore different avenues and the depths of things that you love and what you're passionate about. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so beautiful. So in closing, I've just enjoyed this conversation so much. You have so much to offer, so much wonderful advice and experience. And I think what's most interesting again is this idea of professional and personal balance. To be able to have both is such a unique um, gift. That's the word. It's a gift to have both kind of success stories that way. Do you have any advice that you could share for our listeners? I mean, even if it's different because something for a casting agent might be a little bit different for an actor, but do you have any kind of advice to share just through all of your experiences from everything that you've touched?
Well, I think what I'd love to share is that um, where I was in my 20s and where I am now, I never expected to be at this place. And I think that I was fortunate in that I paid attention to opportunities that I might not have thought were the right fit for me, but really interested me. And each opportunity led me down a road to something that was very interesting and brought me to this point. So I think being open to possibilities and not digging your heels in so firmly that this is what you want to do and only what you want to do is really important, I think, from my experience. I also feel like um, our profession is so all encompassing that we forget about the rest of the world. And I think that it's really important to take time to find something that you can give back and also feel that's fulfilling. So I think that there are so many different ways that we could give back to our communities and the people in our lives. And I know I've spent more time with my mother as she's gotten older and in the pandemic where she can't do as much. So I think if your grandparents are meaningful, make sure you call them at least once a week and let them know what's going on and hear their stories and maybe even write them down. Or if there's a neighbor who needs some help, connect with them. Or if you love reading, maybe there are kids who need somebody to read to them, or a parent who's really exhausted who needs somebody to help out. I just think that get out of the world. I know you're working really hard, but get out of that world and just try to think beyond that.
That is the best advice that I've heard so far. Thank you for sharing all of your gifts with us, your expertise, your wisdom, your advice, your perspective. You are such a gem in every way, your talent and as a human being. Where can we find you? So, where's this podcast? Where can we find you on social media?
Oh boy. So at Klapper Casting is my Instagram.
Great.
And actually, it's my amazing daughter who has been one of my assistants, who's working in other areas now as an actress. But Caitlin maintains our Instagram, and then Someone's Thunder is getting up an Instagram, but you could find it on Apple and on other podcasts. You could search for us, and then clappercasting.com is our website, which is currently under construction to be new and improved, but should be here soon.
Fantastic. And we'll be sure that we offer all of the information when we air the show. Thank you, Stephanie Klapper. You're
It went too
amazing.
fast. I love you so much. This has been just absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
I love you too. And there'll be many more to come. I'm sure I'll be reaching out because we're going to end up doing a few series and special kind of topics. And when that happens, I definitely want to bring you back because you have so much to offer.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. And we will definitely be in touch.